Hello and welcome to Bible FPL, a review of Game Week 35, look ahead to Game Week 36, double game week, City players on the screen. Let me just talk you through as quickly as I can my top City picks, top Palace picks, in order from best to worst, slap through how my teams have done, short Bible talk in the middle, and then we'll bring the video to a close. Top City picks, I think it's fairly obvious in terms of the way a lot of people have been looking at this. I think Haaland is obviously the standout, right? On penalties, the main man for City, chasing down the title, goal difference could be important. You expect Haaland to be involved. Decent form as well, good finish against Everton, in the week. Haaland's the one in terms of, who I would say is the best pick for City at the moment. As for sort of number two, so Cherky, I think is the number two for me. Again, I just think his form has been really good. He's looking good on the eye. I feel like he is that player for City that's unlocking stuff at the moment still for them. That's why Cherky is number two. Number three, O'Reilly, and I think he's a really cheeky differential captaincy if you're chasing. If they get the clean sheets and he gets the attacking returns that we know he can get, if he braced in a game or something, got two cleaners plus bonus, you're laughing, aren't you? So Riley's in there. I think you could argue he could go ahead of Cherky if you're really chasing. I think Cherky's another nice differential captain, but I think because you've got the clean sheet potential for O'Reilly plus the goal threat and assist threat, he has the upside if you're really chasing points. Semenyo at four because we know what he can do on his day. He's just been struggling for form a bit lately. And then Doku, I think after his performance against Everton, he's in form, isn't he? And I think he proved he can finish. He's not just an assist man. So I think Doku's a cheeky one at number five for City, if you wanted to go a bit different with him. In terms of City, sorry, not City, in terms of Palace assets, if I can get to them. So Lacroix, I think for me, is the best pick for Palace because he is nailed in that team. I think we're fairly sure. I feel fairly confident he's going to start both for Palace. Great for DEFCON. So even if they didn't keep a clean sheet in both games, you're hopefully going to mop up some DEFCON for him. Like there's a chance he gets 8 points from two games from no clean sheets if he gets DEFCON in both and only concedes one in both. So it's worth considering. Like he could just do a nice job for you. And obviously if you get lucky and Palace clean, even more. Henderson, because he's nailed for both games, I think is arguably their second best pick because as we've seen with the rotation, I'd say it's only really these two that are rotation proof. Munoz has proven his rotation is now, yeah, possible rotation for them. I didn't think he'd be getting rotated for minutes, but he was. But because of his upside and because there is a decent chance he still plays both, he is a fitness monster. Generally speaking, Munoz. I think at number three he has to go. Sarr, I've put it four because we know what he can do. If he gets one start and half a game across the two games, that's enough. He could do damage in. I heard FPL Andy talking about Brennan Johnson as a pick, and to be fair, I didn't realise how many games he'd started for them in the Prem. So if he gets rested in Europe, he could be the sort of differential you're looking for that you think, oh, he's probably going to play both games actually, and maybe I get lucky. We know on his day he can finish his chances. So that's why he's in there. And then I've got a slightly blurry Chris Richards picture. Could have picked a better picture there, but a number six, I've put Richards. I just think he just got arrested the weekend, and in that centre back role, he's been fairly important for them. I just wonder now if he won't need another rest for a while. Therefore, he may play in Europe and still get both Prem games. And he's also as good at DEFCON as he is with Lacroix. So, if he plays both those games with the DEFCON threat at 4.4 mil, he could be quite useful for some of you, particularly if you're tight on budget. And he's probably going to be useful for me this week on one of the teams because of budget, essentially. So there's my thoughts on the Palace and the City boys. In terms of the teams, I'll just slap through how we got on. So the main team, 56 points. Senesi was an absolute legend, really, in that. 325k. We didn't really advance up the ranks as much as I'd like. In fact, I think we had a slight red arrow. So it's now looking very difficult, the top 100k pursuit, unless this week goes really well. Calvert-Lewin captaincy went well, to be fair. It's just a shame Haaland outscored him by one. As for the rest, there wasn't loads to report, to be fair, other than some fairly standard returns. In terms of the fixtures, so obviously we've discussed the doubles for Palace and City. I think, Brighton, a lot of us have if we wildcarded in 32. I don't think there's loads of other teams to look at. I think Arsenal, obviously, now going for the title. I think defensively, they could be really interesting in terms of defending for their lives every game, trying to nick a win in every game. I wouldn't surprise if they cleaned up in all three of these games. So I'm looking to bring in an additional Arsenal defender this week. I think Saka probably starts both, gets reduced minutes as an attacker. I think, he's one obviously you can look at. Um, so yeah, I think Arsenal's a team to definitely look at with them obviously now being in pole position to try and win the title with the confidence of getting to UCL final as well. I think Spurs are an interesting one if you want a differential. I think this isn't a terrible run of fixtures. Home to Leeds is very nice. Away to Chelsea. Chelsea have been really struggling of late, haven't they? So I don't think that's as bad as it looks. And then home to Everton, is a pretty decent fixture to finish the season with. So it's a block of three. There's not many better teams. Spurs have a lot to play for. They've proved under De Zerbi in the last couple of games. They've got some form now coming into the locker. And yeah, I'm actually considering a Spurs player this week. I'll tell you about them shortly, but I think again could be a cheeky differential opportunity there for Spurs. As a Brighton fan, I know how many goals De Zerbi got us scoring, and I think there could be an opportunity there for Spurs if you're chasing and you wanted to go a little bit different to finish the season with. In terms of sort of my team for the main team, so again, in a nutshell, I'll try and be quick with this. I'm very tempted by Petrovic to Raya just to get in that extra Arsenal coverage I was referring to. And then I originally was going to go triple Palace, but I just think with that rotation, I've just been put off. So I'm now leaning towards Cucurella to Lacroix. Lacroix's definitely coming in unless, he gets injured, which hopefully he doesn't in the cup. He's definitely coming in. And then it's probably going to be for me, I think, is it Senesi to Richards that I can afford? If I have a look at my thing, yeah, for exact funds, I can afford that. So that's probably what I'll end up doing with my three free transfers. And then I'll have Raya set for home to Burnley next week. And also for next week, I'll then be able to get to triple Arsenal because I could do Palmer to Saka for home to Burnley, which looks really nice. So that's what I'm currently thinking for this team. I'll get some double Palace in. If these boys play both, could get some really nice defcon over the two to tick over a decent score. And then we've got a route to Saka next week and triple Arsenal at home to Burnley. And this week I'll have triple Brighton at home to Wolves, which I think is very nice. In fact, my bench this week's very strong. I'll be benching probably Calvert-Lewin, Tavernier, and Palmer even, which shows, yeah, the team's looking pretty strong this game week. So I think it's tricky because at the moment, captaincy's on Haaland. I just think he's going to score the most points over the two games. So why would I go anywhere else if that's my opinion? But because I'm chasing a very outside chance of top 100k, I think I'm like 55 points off now. So it'd take a minor miracle. I probably ought to be looking at the likes of O'Reilly. It's just if I have the bottle to go for a player that for some reason my gut isn't that O'Reilly's going to do. I'll tell you why. I just think Brentford are pushing for Europe. I could see Thiago wiping the cleaner at the Etihad. And then Palace, granted, they're prioritising Europe, but we know what Palace can do on their day. Counter-attacking team. Would it surprise you if the likes of a Munoz or a Sarr nicks that clean sheet off City? Wouldn't surprise me at all. So that's why I'm a bit hesitant on O'Reilly. Whereas Haaland, the destroyer, like with the goals City need to score and the wins they need to get, I could just see him bulldozing in some goals in these two matches to keep the title alive for City, essentially. In terms of the Bible team, 60 points. Doku, absolute legend, has basically kept this team in like really good touching distance of the top 100k. It was looking worse than that before that City game. So the Doku return was lovely, and obviously the Gay assist for that last goal was just a really nice double up for this team. So that was lovely. Bruno Guimaraes getting something was nice since I picked him on wildcard as a bit of a differential. Thiago goal was nice. Obviously Haaland we've discussed as a return there. So yeah, I was a bit unlucky. Munoz, playing 45 minutes. Kinski lost his cleaner, I think, in the last second. Anderson got benched. There was a few frustrating things on this team, but Doku kind of made up for all of it in the end. So this team still has a very good chance top 100k. So I think we'd definitely be just captaining Haaland on this team to play it safe this week. In terms of the short Bible talk, if you're familiar with the series, I do a short Bible talk to bring some deeper meaning. We're going to go with a goal that Jeremy Doku scored in the 97th minute. Now, Jeremy sounds very much like Jeremiah, right? So he's our book of Jeremiah option in the Old Testament. And we're going to turn to chapter 9 in relation to this particular goal time. There isn't a chapter 90 or chapter 43. We're going to chapter 9 for 90. And I'm going to read a couple of verses that actually are quite relevant to Doku celebrations. I want to tie it a little bit into football, FPL, that sort of thing. I'll try and be as quick as I can. Here's what it says. This is what the Lord says. Let not the wise boast of their wisdom, or the strong boast of their strength, or the rich boast of their riches. But let the one who boasts boast about this, that they have the understanding to know me, that I am the Lord who exercises kindness, justice, and righteousness on the earth. For in these I delight, declares the Lord. So there's a lot here talking about not being prideful, not being boastful, being humble, and then sort of going on to talking about those who boast in the Lord. And essentially, whether you believe in God or not, if you don't believe in God, there is still a chance that God has actually created you and you don't yet believe it or know it yet. And if that is the case, that there is a supreme being that has created you, then that instantly just results to an increased sense of humbleness in terms of like, wow, like, I've been created by a heavenly father. Like I'm only here because of him. Like I'm only breathing and being sustained because of him. Therefore, actually, that changed your whole perspective in terms of humility and being grateful for every breath and every good thing you have in your life. And that's why the likes of Jeremy Doku, when he scores, recently, and Thiago's been doing this for Brentford, he's been going, no, 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 it's not all about me. It's all about God. Because he's like, look, I believe God made me. He made me to have the ability I've got. Therefore, anytime I do anything good, I'm not going, oh, look at me, I'm so wonderful. I'm going, look at God, because he's the one that made me to have this ability, and he's the one who's enabled me and given me the skills to do what I've been able to do. So he's the one I'm giving the glory to, type thing. And that's kind of, I suppose, partly what some of this passage is saying. It's like, let's be humble in life. I think humility's attractive. I think, those that are sort of really prideful and it's all about me, look how amazing I am. Like, ultimately, none of us are perfect. So even some of the most prideful people, some of the most confident people, even some of the best footballers in the world, like they're gonna flop at times. Like they're not always gonna deliver. Like none of us are perfect, and it is good to remain humble in life, whoever you are. Um, that reminds me of the Haaland quote, stay humble here. And then he had an awful run of form, didn't he, off the back of that? You just think pride comes for a fool sometimes. And actually, Jesus modeled humility perfectly. You could be reading this passage thinking, oh, so is God like some kind of egotistical God that just like, I don't know, it's all about him and he well, one, like if he's the creator of the universe and he's supremely powerful, like, and he's created us and he loves us and he sustains us and he dies for us, he does deserve our worship and praise. But also, Jesus, the Son of God, God in human form, came and lived a very humble life. He died most horrendous death on a cross. He washed his disciples' feet. He lived a very servant kind of style lifestyle. He was born into a very poor family. Like Jesus modeled servanthood and love as the Son of God, as God Himself. Like God Himself perfected humility in life. So He proved that actually this is a God that is beautifully humble. And it's even more reason to worship Him and aspire to live and follow the footsteps that Jesus lived on earth. Um, and something like you're saying, well, are we supposed to have kind of some kind of like pride in a sense, like some kind of self-worth? And yeah, like of course, like we need self-worth, but there's no greater self-worth in life that comes from being loved by the creator of the universe. And that's what Jeremy Doku understands. That's what a lot of these Christian players understand. They're like, my self-worth and my belief comes from God. It comes from who He is. It's not based on how well I perform or how well I do in life. It's based on the fact God loves me for who I am, for how He made me, and whether I do well or whether I flop, whether I score a Jeremy Doku worldie or whether I do a Mark Gay terrible back pass. So I guess the analogy works well because both of them are Christians. Both of those players know in either of those situations they're equally as loved by the creator of the universe, whether they do a terrible pass or a beautiful shot. And that's what another wonderful thing about being a Christian. Like you're loved and valued by God for who you are, no matter how well you perform. You're ultimately saved by grace and you're saved by God's love for you. And again, if you're watching this video, like you guys can have that today if you don't know God already. So yeah, please comment if you have any questions about that. I'd love to help you on your journeys of faith. And then just as we come into land, here's how the um, main team, sorry, no, the Bible team, sorry, is looking as we kind of come into the season for game week 36. Again, I think it's looking pretty strong. We've got the triple up on Palace and City, cheeky Mateta differential there. Hopefully, he can do some damage over what will probably be one start and one benching. That's why I didn't put Mateta or Strand Larson on my sort of top City, I'm sorry, top Palace players, because I'm just like, they're both going to get a start each, surely. So I know I said the same as Sarr, But I think there's a chance Sarr starts both because he's so important to them. Like Mateta and Strad Larsen, they're both very good strikers, so I think they're just going to constantly like flip flop between who starts. So for me, that does put me off a bit. But on the Bible team, we're going for Mateta because of his name, because of the Christian factor. That I'm pretty sure he is sort of proclaimed to be online. And then yeah, so the rest of the team, I think it's basically going to be this. Other than I'm very tempted by. I'm going to probably do Xavi Simons potentially to Conor Gallagher of Spurs. I talked earlier about the Spurs punt. I just think, okay, he scored in the last game week. He's been playing in that centre attacking midfield role where Simmons is out. I can easily afford to get to him. He's also been doing really well for DEFCON. So he's a player that has kind of a few different routes to points. Could get some DEFCON, could get an assist, could get a goal. There is, he just scored a goal in the last game. There is something about a run of form in terms of goals and stuff. Like he's proving to be quite important for De Zerbi in these last few games for Spurs, particularly in the absence of Simons. He's been starting every game, and I'm just like, do you know what? Why not? And it will free up some funds, I think, towards the end of the season to maybe get like a Salah punt for the last day for his final game for Liverpool or something like that. So that's what I'm tempted by. And obviously, Bruno Guimaraes has mainly been good at home rather than away, so it means I don't have to start Guimaraes. Thiago's away to City. As much as I think he could score in that, it's still away to City. May well not. Hincapié. I was thinking when Calafiori started in Champions League, oh, maybe he's starting now at the weekend, but then Calafiori got hooked after 57 for a nice little rest. So I think they probably go Calafiori again at the weekend. So I think Hincapié has to be benched this team, and he's now become a bit of a problem, unfortunately, for the team, which is a shame going to home to Burnley next week. But it is what it is. And then I'll probably be starting Elliot Anderson, assuming I'm confident he's going to start this one, just because it feels like his baseline is a 4 pointer with a DEFCON. Which, yeah, will do a nice job for this team, particularly when we're trying to sort of hold a bit of ground and sneak up towards that 100k. Think he could do a shift for us. So that's the current thinking of this team. Captaincy on Haaland, like I said, to not overcomplicate things for a team that, yeah, isn't chasing too much, but it could completely destroy this team's season for the top 100k pursuit if we go against him and he kills it, Haaland, because he's going to be so highly owned, isn't he, with the captaincy, and some people triple captaining too. So that's how this team is looking. Pretty happy with it again, as I am with the main team. And then for the final thing, for anyone who cares, we were going for the triple top 100k across all accounts, including UCL Fantasy. Our hopes were pinned on a Calafiori captaincy or a Musiala one, both of which failed. The rest of the team actually didn't do too badly. I just fear that once this has been updated, the rank isn't going to be looking like top 100k as possible. I was 158k last night. I had a 10k green arrow after the Arsenal game. High hopes going into this Bayern game. If Musiala smashed it, had a genuine chance. I think at this point, it's like it's going to take a miracle in terms of I'll have to pack out a full defense of like five defenders from the same team, which a lot of other people do anyway, bearing in mind around my rank. And then I'll have to captain someone so rash, like, a Yao Neves that no one else has gone near, or someone even more unlikely that no one owns. And they have to score about 4 goals in the final in order to get to 100k. So that's the thread of hope we have I think, for the triple top 100k pursuit, which is another reason why on the main team I'm probably leaning towards captaining Haaland as well, rather than like going for broke with O'Reilly. Because I'm just like, at this point, I think the triple 100k dream is almost gone. So let's just try and finish as high as we can by going for the players and the captains that I think are going to do the best, essentially. The way that you'd normally play FPL if you weren't chasing, and we'll see where we end up. So yeah, we'll leave it there before this video is far too long. As I always like to say, thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far, like, well done. Thank you. Appreciated. I'm a small YouTuber. I do very sort of creative things in relation to about Christian faith and stuff as part of it, which I don't think many other people do with FPL. So yeah, appreciate you all for those that stick around for these sort of videos. But for now, yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks again for watching. Do like and subscribe if you found this even remotely helpful. Every bit of support's appreciated. But for now, yeah, catch you guys on the next one, and hope you have a really fun game week 36. Few game weeks left between now and the end of the season. A nice double game week. Happy days. Hopefully it's a good one. Bye for now.